Hello, welcome to Going Native. This is with me, Neil Stokes. Sorry, this is the interview series where I talk to Catalan people in English. And today we have author and co-founder of the Cyberclick group, David Toma, with us. Welcome, David, to the programme.
Thank you very much.
Okay, in a moment we're going to talk a little bit about your book, which is, in English, is called The Happiest Company in the World.
Yeah, correct. It's not published in English, though, yet.
But that's what the translation would be. Yeah?
I hope it will be, but nowadays it's only in Spanish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the message is as relevant in English as it is in Spanish, so hopefully it will get translated at some point.
Well, it's actually translated already, but not published.
Oh, okay. So we've got that to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about your book a little bit. We're going to talk about the whole subject of satisfaction in the workplace and modern techniques for improving productivity, etc., etc. All interesting topics. But I always start these by asking people a little bit about their English.
Yeah.
So what's your story? How did you get to learn English, and how much do you use it in your everyday life?
So I use it quite a lot, especially in reading and talking to. And I mean, I was doing as everyone from Catalonia does, going to the English school and learn there. And when I was 17, I spent a few weeks with a family in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And then that's where I improved a little bit. Later on, I actually went to do not a master's program, but a program in Boston. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, I improved my English too.
Mm-hmm. And so now you use it all the time in work. Do you travel a lot?
I do, and I try to travel less because now I have two little kids at home. So, but I do travel at least once or two a year. I'm in London or the States, and then we have people from different countries in our office. So I'll try to make the office as international as possible. So what I hope is that English becomes the natural language, which starts to happen nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And in your sort of travelling around and meeting people from other places and stuff, does that contributed, I suppose, to your thinking about the subject of the book, about happiness in the workplace? And
yeah,
so on?
Definitely. A lot of the things I've read are in English and not translated yet. So if I wasn't able to read English properly, then I wouldn't get that knowledge today. Okay,
well, anyway, let's get into it. So tell us a little bit about the book. So the book, how would you describe it? Because it's a story.
Yeah.
But the actual sort of point of the book is to provide sort of a commentary on sort of business culture and so on. Well, you describe it. You wrote it. You're better than me.
So the idea of the book is to explain how you can be happy and working, which seems something not possible for...
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. And then we, as a company, we were selected as the best place to work in Spain for 2 years in a row. And then, obviously, when we got the first award, I realized that we were doing things different than other companies were not doing. So I thought about writing a book and try to explain and share our experience and the practices we do. But obviously, I didn't like the idea of writing a book, saying a how-to book. You know, you have to do first A
like
and then B.
Or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So I decided to create a story, and then... throughout the story, I give like the 11 keys that you should consider if you want to be happy at work. Mm-hmm. What is true is that all the things that I explain in the book, we do them. So we measure happiness in our company. We do retreats with the team and enjoy together. We do a lot of celebrations, but it's within the story. And it's not like I explain the how-to.
Okay. Well, that's quite a clever idea, no? To get your message across through a more entertaining, engaging way. Yeah,
because what I wanted is that to make the book really easy to read. You can read it in 2-3 hours, so it's a quick read. And my goal was that once you read the book, you could at least have 1 or 2 things that the next day you can take to your office or to your company and then start to change a few things.
So these ideas for you, they are immediately applicable. You can
definitely.
Tomorrow you're at home, you read it, you're a boss, you think, oh my God, that's a great idea. You can go in the next day and get it started straight away. Yeah,
you can start. I mean, you cannot do all of a sudden. You have to go step by step. But definitely there's change. I mean, I have already some companies that they start to implement things, and managers and even people from the team that they suggest to their managers that they should try to improve a few things about happiness. And all the message is the same. that works.
Okay.
I mean, it's working for us. We are happier. We are more productive. We are a better company. Last week, I had an email from a person from Colombia, and he was saying, you know what? I mean, I'm struggling a little bit. I changed my job, and I don't have that much money, but I bought your book, and it's the best investment I've done because it's helping me out being a better professional and enjoy more my work.
That's great. One of the things I like about your ideas is that they benefit both the company and the workers. It's not just, because often business advice, how to improve your productivity or how to improve staff satisfaction is like one way. It's sort of like, well, it helps the productivity, but these people lose out or something.
Yeah.
But the way that everybody wins is a really nice approach, I think.
Yeah, that's a must. I mean, I think in the future, companies need to understand that it's not only about the company, it's about the people who's within the company. So if you are not able to align both interests, there's going to be conflict. Because, I mean, if the goals from the company are totally against my goals, I'm going to struggle. And if I'm struggling, I'm not bringing my best ideas and my best work to my day-to-day.
Yeah.
So I think that's change companies need to realize that if we focus in happiness and fulfillment from your team, then the company is going to be a better place to work, it's going to be more productive, and then it's going to be a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and well, why don't you give us a few examples of the main points you make? Obviously, we haven't got time to go through all of them, but pick out 2 or 3 that for you are particularly important, just so people at home can get an idea of the type of thing.
There are 11, but I always pick the first one. And the first one is stop and decide to be happy. And that's something you need to do. I mean, how many times in your life do you stop, reflect, and evaluate if you're happy? That for your personal life is difficult, but then in your professional life is even more difficult. I mean, there's no companies evaluating that. So we decided to measure that. I mean, if you're happy at work, so every single day we send an email to our team and we ask them to rate how they feel in a traffic light. So today is red, is yellow or green.
Right.
We even have the super green. If
so something quick and easy that everyone can understand and it's easy to read.
So then you have every single day you evaluate how you are, and then Monday morning meeting, what we do, instead of starting checking the company metric like the profit, the revenue, the first metric we check is the traffic lights. I mean, are we in red or are we in green? Because if we are in red and we're making a lot of money, it doesn't make sense. I mean, we need to figure out a way of making money and having all our team in green. So that's the first metric we do. Every single week we stop for 10 minutes. It's not more than that. But then we check if everything is in green. And if there's a red, then we're going to sit with the team and evaluate how we can solve that. That would be the first thing, and that's something we need to start to do in companies, and that doesn't cost any money. I mean, a lot of companies say, well, you know what, concentrating on happiness, it will cost me money. No, that's you could do it. It's only 10 minutes a week, but it doesn't cost you anything. And the second point that I always talk about is trust. So you cannot have a happy place to work if there is no trust. And to have trust, you need a couple of components. The first one is a good communication. So I should be able to explain you the things that I don't like about the company or the things that are making me preoccupied a little bit or being worried. And then the second thing is transparency. I mean, if you want trust, you need transparency. A lot of companies are not transparent. I mean, the decisions maybe are taken by someone in an office in New York or London who you haven't met, never met, and you don't know nothing about the person taking that decision. So what we want to do is to have transparency, and if there's a decision that should be made, at least you need to provide your opinion, be informed. So, for instance, what we do is all the decisions that are going to affect someone, at least we're going to ask the opinion of that person. And another thing we do is we provide all the financial data of the company. The company is going well or not. Because a lot of people, they don't know if they're going to get fired or they're going to hire someone else, so they don't have any idea. So you're thinking about that and you cannot be happy if you're worried about what's going to happen in the future. But if you see the numbers and you see the companies going well, maybe they raise your salary, they hire someone, and you are not afraid they're going to fire you.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I was actually talking about this subject a while ago with some friends, and one of my friends made the point that a lot of these things, like the sort of things you're talking about, when you look at them objectively, they're common sense.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, no?
Exactly.
It makes sense that if you know, some of these very simple things. So why do you think there's often, it's taken so hard for companies to adopt some of these things or to come to these conclusions themselves when it's common sense? Because there's a lot of intelligent people running companies and things like that. What's your explanation for that?
It's the way we've been organized for the last 120 years, because it was Adam Smith at the beginning of last century who was concentrated on efficiency. There was no knowledge at the companies, and then they specialized. They had the person in charge who knew everything, and the rest only execute. But and then we start to grow. Companies were more efficient, were more profitable. They were growing. But nowadays we shift. I mean, it's not anymore an economy of production only. It's an economy of knowledge. And in the economy of knowledge, you need to work differently. So the point is that we lack common sense. It's only focused on efficiency based on a model that is not working anymore. I actually, in the book, I talk, there's the story relates to a tribe in the Amazonas. And that's because I wanted to bring some common sense. I mean, the old tribes, they use common sense to manage how they're going to eat, how they take decisions.
But they've lived like that for thousands of years with no problems.
Exactly.
No?
But in the modern life, in the, let's say, company life, sometimes common sense lacks. And some decisions doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. Well, I think work in particular, for a lot of people, is like a sort of automatic action. That you don't have any responsibility, you're just doing what you're told, you're just following what they laid down, they're coming at the time you're supposed to come, doing what you're and going home. So then people are not taking necessarily an interest or responsibility or anything. So even if it is clear to some people, to others it's not going to be, because they're just not even thinking about that.
Yeah, you are not empowered at work. I mean, only 30% of the workforce is engaged. So it means 70% are not engaged at all with their job, and that's because they are disempowered. I mean, someone is taking the decisions for them. So if you think, well, I cannot do anything, my task is come here at 9 and leave at 6, I have to do what I'm told to do, and then I leave, that doesn't empower you. I mean, you're just doing what someone tells you. But I think nowadays people is educated enough to participate in those decisions.
Yeah, it makes a lot.
And then you are engaged, you want to do, you see that you are able to achieve things without someone else controlling you and telling what to do. So that's the way you see that you are capable of achieving more things, and you start to feel better with yourself. You have more confidence, and since you have more confidence, then you start a positive cycle that you are reassured about yourself. Your relationship with your co-workers is better because you feel better about yourself. And then once you go home, you even feel better because you say, wow, today I achieved a lot. And then you go and you smile at home. And then we have these neurons, the mirror neurons, that your spouse, your couple, your kids will love you back. And then it's a positive cycle.
It feeds back into the whole thing and creates like a virtuous cycle of positive energy. And
instead of having a lot of people who feel really bad on Sunday afternoon because on Monday they have to work. Actually, there's a statistic that Monday morning is the day that there are more, the major number of heart attacks.
I'm not surprised.
So, but it doesn't make any sense.
No, because I mostly work from home, and I can't. Oh, Monday mornings are terrible. It's that historical thing, though, you're talking about. No? It's that historical headache, hangover.
Exactly, but if we start to change the workplace, and for you the workplace is somewhere where you enjoy, you have a good relationships, open, and you can communicate properly, and you are engaged, then Monday is another day of the week that you do a different task than the weekend, but it's enjoyable for you, and you feel good about yourself.
And what about, but every organisation you have, particularly when there's a group of people involved, whether it's the armed forces or a football team or a company, there has to be rules and limits, etc. Where are those limits?
Yeah, so in our case, what we do is talk about core values. I think it's difficult to define limits. So what we created is ideas about how you take decisions. I mean, if I start to do a lot of rules, I mean, first there will some things that won't be defined, so you don't know how to do it. So what we do is general ideas. So we have like 3 ideas. One is admire people, always find a better way, and customer experience first.
So these are ideas that can be applied. They're general because they can be applied to lots of situations?
No, those are specific for our company.
Oh, okay.
So each company needs to define exactly
I get you. Okay.
what ideas are suitable for you.
So there's not a magic set of rules that you can apply to it. But each company has to find its own way of...
You need to figure out, I mean, what are the rules that define your company? I mean, you want people to collaborate or to be competitive? You want people to be respectful or to be goal-oriented? So you have to decide. And once you have that clear...
And sorry, do you do that as a group, or is that better for the people running the company to decide that and then introduce it to the others, or how does that work?
We did it as a group. I think it's important that everyone that's
is invested in it.
Exactly, and they agree that those are the general ideas that will rule the companies. But with those general ideas, then it's really easy to make decisions. I mean, is this person acting as an admirer people or not? Well, if it's not, then it doesn't fit in this company. It doesn't mean he's a bad person. It means that for this company, it doesn't fit. There's another one that probably fits the core values of that person. But your core values need to be aligned with the values of your companies. I give an example in the book. I mean, if you are, for instance, let's say you are a pacifist, and then it's not possible for you to work for a company that is building bombs.
Okay.
Because you're not going to feel comfortable. You don't believe in what the company is doing. So there should be an alignment between your core beliefs and the company core values.
So like a place where they slaughter animals is not a good place for a vegan.
Exactly. Okay. That's an extreme case like the one I mentioned, but you won't be happy there.
Yeah.
And you won't give your maximum because there's something inside you that tells you, well, this is not what I want to do.
Another thing I was thinking a little bit, and that conversation I referred to before, we were talking about this a little bit. We were talking about people who work first self-employed and working on their own, but there are a lot of people in that situation, but also at some point in their working week have to work with a company and with people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my case. I mean, I will spend 3 days at home working from home, and then I'll come into the office or come in here, and then suddenly I have to be with people. How does that affect the situation at all? Because does that basically you just have to have 2 personalities, or is it something that you can sort of carry through the whole week, even though you are working by yourself? I'm not quite sure how that might work.
Well, my point of view is at work or the task you're doing, you should be yourself. And that doesn't happen to many people. I mean, a lot of people go to work and say, well, I'm acting in a way that it's not really me. I mean,
okay, they're playing a role.
Exactly, they're playing a role. So at the end of the day, if you're working by yourself or working with some other people, you need to be naturally you.
Yeah.
And that's what I would concentrate. Like, okay, if I'm going to try to be myself, I'm not going to make up a person that I'm not really myself. And then I will communicate. And that depends a lot on how you are. I mean, I don't like to work from home. Personally, I like to be around people. And if I work 3 days in a row at home, I'm going to be unhappy because I like to connect with people and talk to the team. But maybe for you, it's like the way where you are creative and you concentrate. So companies should give the flexibility that each individual needs to figure out what's the best way they can work.
But that's what I was sort of coming on to, because the other thing, of course, is that when you're working in a team or in a group or you're working on a common project or whatever, there's across the board, that's fine, everybody's going in the same direction, everyone agrees. But then you'll always have people who function differently than other people, who are more difficult to deal with, who have specific needs and so on. And then this is where maybe, you start to think, well, how does that work? How does that apply? Are these people forced then to go with the others? Or is there room for these people to express themselves? Or how would you solve that?
So I think we should go case by case and see each person. But I have a general recommendation. I think that mainly what happens is we are not trained to communicate in an assertive way. So we generally have a difficulty expressing our feelings in a positive way for the other person. That's where the conflict is born, because you're not able to explain your needs in terms of the needs of the other person. So, for instance, that's something we educate our team to. And it's recommended in my book by the people in Cyberclick. They always read a book named Crucial Conversations, and I can't remember the name of the author, but the book explains how you can communicate in a way that the other person is going to be positive about your topic, and then you can reach an agreement. Because sometimes it's difficult. I mean, if it's not that I don't want to have an agreement with you, but the way I'm telling you my needs is not good for you, and then there's going to be a conflict. But if I learn how to communicate in terms that it's positive for you, and you learn to communicate in terms that it's positive for me, then we're going to solve all our problems.
Yeah, I get that. And again, it's coming back to, when you explain it like that, it comes back to, well, I suppose it's common sense when you think about it. No, it's communication. I mean, obviously, it always works.
But we are not trained. I mean,
no, it's a crazy way. It seems these basic concepts are almost alien to you, know? You're like, as if you're listening to it the first time, and we're talking about communicating with other human beings. That's all, no?
It's not easy. I mean, it's not easy. I think schools today are doing a better job than they were doing before, and parents today are doing a better job. But there was not a lot of training about that, so it was tough. I mean, again, feelings were sometimes repressed. There were some ideas. The more our society is educated, the easier it will be to communicate the feelings, and we are more prepared to reach agreements.
Yeah. I mean, it's very easy for conflicts to appear. It can be something like, you know, oh, he didn't say hello to me. And so you interpret that as he hates me when he just didn't see you.
Exactly.
And then 5 years later, you hate him, and it's like, well, it was an accident, you know. So, and that's the lack of communication.
Yeah,
no?
Totally agree. It's a lack of communication, and then that's the need to express the feelings. I mean, if you think that person hates you, and you go and tell, you know what, every single day you don't say hello, and you know, have I done anything? And then the person, oh, sorry, I mean, I'm rushing in and I haven't seen you, but I really appreciate your work and working with you. And then the conflict is over. But if you don't talk about it, then the conflict will scale.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about was a little bit, but what role does modern technology play in this? Because I can see how it can be helpful as providing tools to aid these things, but also it could be a bit of a distraction, because some of these things are basic human things that you don't need mobiles or screens or anything for as well. We should be able to communicate with each other without the need of doing it through a social network, but at the same time I can see how, as we can see every day, how these things connect people and how they aid communication. So where do we stand on the involving technology in that?
I'm in favor of any kind of technology that allow us to improve as professional, as persons, that allow us to communicate. I think it's something we are creating, the way we relate with technology. Obviously, there's some things we need to learn and experiment, but I think technology will help us a lot in our workspace. For instance, about working from home or creating. I mean, if I can communicate with someone in a different office, and it seems virtual that we are sit next to each other, that makes things better. Or maybe in terms of the schedule we work, why we all have to work from 9 to 2 and 4 to 7? Maybe it doesn't make sense. Someone can work from home at night because he feels more comfortable, and then technology allow us to provide information real time, send goals, share documents. So I think technology will make our workspace better.
Yeah, I think it's important though that people know how to use it properly though, because I think we're all sort of techno-able now, and we're all using it all day long. But then you find, I know, that WhatsApp conversation that goes on for too long and becomes, oh my God, it's like you know, I've been trying to, we've said what we needed to say, and this person is keeping it going, or something, or the person who doesn't give enough information in emails, so you have to ask for more information. Or, and so I think there needs to be people, well, maybe we're still at the beginning of all of that, no? Maybe we're still learning how to use these things properly, I suppose, and maybe over the time we'll get more adept and more expert at it. And
I think it will change radically the way we communicate. We are at the beginning. I mean, there are so many tools out there and new ones that are created. So definitely what we need to have is this knowledge and have an open-minded to use them correctly, consider the other person in the other side of the communication, and then I think that will help us.
Yeah. And how do, you know, when you explain your ideas, particularly to people in companies who are in a position to put them into practice or at least get things moving, people in positions of authority, for example, or owners or whatever.
Yeah.
What is the reaction? Do you feel that they're going away thinking, this guy's really going to try this? Or they're like, I mean, how do the general response?
So general is really positive. I mean, the majority of managers, they want their team to be happy and be more productive. So it's a win-win situation. So it's positive. Though the reaction is to be a little bit afraid. Why? Because there are not hundreds of role models. You have few companies that are doing things in this sense of happiness and fulfillment at work. So there's not much information. They don't have hundreds of cases. And the easy thing is to manage the companies as they've been managing for the last 50 years. But there's an interest. I mean, everyone sees that there's the necessity of change, since there's a small percentage of people really engage in the workspace. So there's interest, and there's a little bit of being afraid. I mean, some people, again, have the ones who rule or have the control of the information and the power. They need to understand that they have to be a little bit humble, accept comments from other people, and share knowledge and information. And the majority of people, they want to share it because they understand they're going to improve, and there's a small percentage that say, well, it will come, but as far as I can control everything, I will keep it. I will keep doing as I used to. My opinion is those companies won't be innovators, and within time they will be out of the market.
Well, again, this is something which is going to take time, and also we're talking about a culture, so that involves a lot of people and a massive effect now of building up speed and so on.
It needs its momentum, but I think it's gaining momentum. I mean, there's more and more people that say, well, I'm tired of being told exactly everything that I need to do, being in control. I want to express myself, and I want to find a place where I can have my opinion and take initiative. No,
I think we're all ready for this change. It's long overdue. You know, we're all fed up of the old-fashioned way of doing things, where, you know, work is a negative thing. It's a place you don't want to go a lot of the time. I mean, that can't be good. Particularly, we spend so much time there. That it's just not good for your health. It's not good for your well-being or anything. It's got to change. It's got to change.
Yeah.
And if you can tie it to prove that, look, productivity improves, well, hey, let's go for it.
There's no question then. Yeah, and then I think it's very clear in all the companies that there's a lack of professionals. So let's see, for instance, all developers, mobile people. So there's not tons of them. I mean, there's a lack of professionals. So the company that wants to attract the best talent, they need to offer this kind of companies that they concentrate on fulfillment and happiness. And the rest, it will come. I mean, it will come, and I think faster than the majority of people thinks.
Well, I think what I like most about the whole idea, and something which I've always sort of tried to get across, is that it's not always just about money. You just don't keep on offering me more and more money to make me accept something. There's other stuff that's important to me. Obviously, the money, you're doing it for the money, but it's not just as simple as that. And it's hard. You can see that some people just don't get it. They think, well, offer him this and he'll do it. It's like, yeah, but there is a limit to...
exactly. There's a book called Drive from Daniel Pink that talks about that. And the thing is, up to a certain level of income, I mean, you don't care anymore. I mean, if they give you 10% more, or they give you the ability to decide to be in a workplace that you like, you choose the place you like, because 10% more, it doesn't make a difference.
Just in the end, it's just
Exactly.
past the point you need.
Yeah.
So after that, it's just
exactly. I mean, there's a minimum. Obviously, you need to earn enough, but above that, the important thing is how you feel about the company, the project, your co-workers, how you express yourself, and that's really what makes the difference.
Okay. Well, David, thank you very much for coming in. Author
Thanks
of
to you.
Of the happiest company in the world.
Yeah.
You'll tell me where I can send my curriculum later.
Sure.
and I hope that people go and read your book, because it's there's some really great ideas, and then it's time for a change, I think. No?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Well,
and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you anyway. That's Going Native with me, Neil Stokes. See you next week.